So today you can have tests for literally just checking quality of written or spoken English communication skills, to mathematical or logical reasoning, to even coding through codathons. You have tests to even look at cognitive skills, behavioral skills. So you can even go down the path of evaluating candidates for specific disciplines such as comfort with sales kind of roles and so on. We've had so much advancement in the field of uh, evaluating skills and capabilities, and all of this now has been transferred onto automated platforms.
Hi guys, I would like to welcome everyone to another one-on-one session with a thought leader at Seco. And quickly, I'll introduce to what Seco is. Seco is basically a micro-learning platform wherein you can learn about anything in just a minute. And it's basically a space wherein knowledge meets seekers. So we have with us Mr. Vikas Duarte, and he's been in the HR industry for over 15 years. He's been a mentor, he's been a leader, and parallelly been working in a corporate, has had a phenomenal career, and recently, I guess, he's become an author as well. So, hi, Mr. Vikas. Very glad to be here with you. And I would love if you can take a minute and talk about yourself, let the audience know a little about your career and the things that you've been up to.
Sure. Thank you so much. A pleasure being here, firstly on SECO, and really nice to have this interaction with you. Like you shared, I've been in the HR space for over 15 years. I've worked with large organizations, with startups, and now in my latest avatar, I head the HR function for IPG Dexter, which is part of the Global Interpublic Group. Along the way, I've tried a lot of experiments in the field of HR, all during the line of work, and managed to compile that into a form of a book as well, which I call HR in My Heart. You can see the T-shirt
Yeah, I
here
know.
with that same tagline. So it's all a compendium of whatever I've learned in this space, and I've put it out there for young professional students to kind of leverage some of those experiments and learnings, because while some of them went well, some of them were disastrous, and if someone could avoid making some of the mistakes I did, I'd be very happy. So that's where I am.
Great, Vikas. That sounds super good. And essentially, I feel really great being here and doing this conversation with you because day in and day out, I deal with a lot of HRs. And it's been like 4 5 years since I've had a lot of interaction, but getting to know someone, who's been there for like 15, 20 years is a lot, better as an experience. So quickly, Vikas, before we begin and, start about the detailed Q&A, we would love to do a small rapid fire with you. This will help the audience know about you a lot better, and this will be a little personal, a little professional. And let's start. So I'll shoot my questions. You can quickly answer
Sure.
them, probably in a 3 to 4 word thing or a short line. And great. So starting off, the very first thing, if you were given a chance to work with a business tycoon, uh, presently there or maybe even dead, who would it be?
I think Elon Musk, clearly.
Okay, crazy. All right, next question. One lesson that you have learned from your professional life the hard way.
Oh, many of them, in fact. One of the biggest projects that I kind of was hired for and spearheaded at one of my earlier organizations bombed badly. But the lesson I
Okay.
learned was that the leaders allowed you to pick up and run with something else, and didn't just sign you off on that one failure that came
Hmm,
my way.
hmm. Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. Great. The next question, one book that has helped you shape your career and maybe even gave you the motivation to write your own.
I think the book that I would probably talk about is the one about Starbucks. I think just the creativity of how Howard Schultz pulled that whole organization together was extremely inspiring to me, and I read it early in my career as a young HR newbie. So I think
Hmm,
that played a
hmm,
key
hmm.
role.
Perfect. All right, moving to our next question. So let's say there are a lot of misconceptions about every domain. So, what is that one misconception that you feel is a part of the HR domain and which has been prevalent for a very long time?
Oh, the biggest one is that it's a soft science and a soft space where maybe data, maybe analytics has no role to play, and it's completely the opposite.
Hmm. Mhm. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, there are a lot of things that actually go around. All right. To the last question. So now that you've written a book, you've done so much already. What is your next big step? What is the next big thing that you're gonna do?
Oh, honestly, I don't plan that way. Whatever gives me joy, gives me fulfillment, is something that I like to pick on. I think currently I'm really enjoying interacting with young, budding folks like you, and the energy that I get from you, the excitement, the maturity, is something that continues to amaze me. And I'm just hoping to continue to interact in that space.
Great, great. Thank you so much, and thank you for the kind words as well. Great, Vikas. So moving on, Vikas, what we're gonna do is we will talk and do a little Q&A session with you with questions around what happens around in HR. What are the things that have changed in the past 1 or 2 years, and what are the things that have gradually shifted and changed probably in the last 15, 20 years since you've been in the industry. And I would rather want to start with the fact that what has been happening what after the fact that remote hiring came into picture. So for the past 2 years, we've seen that most of the companies have gone remote, irrespective of their sizes, irrespective of how big or small they are. So how has this, all in all, what are the benefits of it, and probably what are the some loopholes in this set of setting?
Sure. So, very clearly, while remote hiring has been around for the last 4 5 years, even in India,
Hmm,
quite honestly,
hmm, hmm,
I think, like you rightly pointed out, it got a boost post the pandemic in the last
hmm,
18
hmm,
months or
hmm.
so. And
Right,
that was
right.
because HR folks, business leaders who wanted to hire people had no other way to
Hmm,
recruit, right?
hmm,
So,
hmm, hmm,
having been part of the IT industry earlier and in a very fast-paced BPO kind of environment,
hmm,
I was
hmm,
lucky
hmm,
enough to experiment and work with a lot of such platforms.
hmm,
And
hmm, hmm,
one thing I realized was that there's tremendous benefit in using them. I'm just saddened by the fact that it took a pandemic for the larger
hmm, hmm,
fraternity or more organizations to understand the value of these platforms.
hmm, hmm,
The
hmm.
reason I'm saying that is because very clearly, when you look at recruitment, right, it's not just that interview one has across the table, which is
Hmm.
recruitment. It involves
Mhm.
stages right from actually creating your employer brand to actually sourcing candidates to
Mhm.
uh, doing the pre-screening, doing some
Mhm.
assessments.
Mhm.
Then it comes to that interview stage, and post-interview also. Then there's a whole offer rollout process that needs to be managed. There is the onboarding that needs to be done, and that's when you complete what is called the recruitment life cycle,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And today, thanks to platforms, technology, you're able to automate this entire end-to-end cycle, which is a
Mhm.
real
Mhm.
beauty in my world,
Right.
because
Right.
it just enables you to kind of destroy the distance, so to speak, between the candidate and the company.
Mhm. Mhm.
If I
Absolutely.
look at
Absolutely.
the broader implications of this, well, for any organization, it means you can expand your pool. Today, you aren't constrained by, if you're an organization based in, let's say, Delhi NCR, you aren't constrained by the fact that you need to evaluate only candidates sitting in Delhi NCR or who are willing to come to your office, right? Uh, you can literally spread your net pan India or even across the globe if you are open to recruiting globally. This also allows you to reduce your costs. That's another great advantage. There is that whole benefit of reducing turnaround times. Prior to deploying technology, we used to actually have to schedule interviews for candidates who need to take off from their current organization or take leave, then come across, visit your organization or company office and sit for an interview. Today, it's a virtual connect across the machine, just like the way we are connecting. So there are tremendous benefits, and of course, at the core of it is the fact that I think somewhere it leads to a better candidate experience, which is what we should all be thinking about consciously as HR folks. At the end of the day, the candidate, when he or she goes away, uh, whether he or she is selected or not, he should or she should go away with a pleasant feeling that the experience was great, and that's what technology today is allowing you to do. I hope that long answer gives you an insight into what you wanted to know.
that the horizon has become a lot more broader. You're not limited to hiring. So let's say if I were to hire for a tech individual, and I know that people currently situated at Bangalore might have a bigger pool of such people, then I'm not limited to just sitting out of and hiring in Delhi if I'm based there. So I
Right.
completely agree with you on that. And but again, like you said, that there's a lot of automation happening into the HR tech. You can, starting from the very screening, or rather from the application process, getting a person onboarded, a lot of automation is already present, and a lot of times it has gone to a level where the human touch has so everything happens automatically through links and stuff. So do you think that the touch is going, that personal touch is something that we are losing on, and or not, or you feel otherwise?
Sure. So it all depends on how the HR team is actually navigating this new normal for themselves, right? Deploying technology is non-negotiable. It is a must-have today. All of us have to be comfortable with it. Yes, does technology remove that human element? Initially, yes. There's no doubt about it. But I'll just relate this whole scenario to, let's say, you're using one of the e-commerce apps, any of the big players, if you see, they're pretty much more or less similar, aren't they? But what ends up differentiating them is their customer service, the interaction that you have when you face a problem, how quickly that is resolved, and so on. In a similar way, when you look at recruitment platforms, the way that technology has been designed, deployed is one thing, but on top of it, you do need that additional element of your recruiters playing that human card and connecting with the candidates, making sure that they are not just talking to faceless bots or to search engines, but they can also sense that there is a human behind who's listening, who's responding, and addressing their own specific concerns, whatever they may be. So that technology can only form the baseline layer as you automate and you create these standard transactions in recruitment. On top of it, you do need a human being to kind of make sure that there is a personalization in the interaction between candidate and company.
Totally agreed. And anyways, for the job seekers as well, a lot of effort goes into actually applying for a company, coming for probably 2 3 4 rounds of interviews, and then at the end of it, if it doesn't work out, it's very heartbreaking, and a lot of times very demotivating as well, and a lot of resources go in. People anyways are lacking resources in current times, a lot of people actually. So it's better if things can happen online, people can
True.
actually be selected in a different city altogether, and once everything is in place, they can actually move there if that is something which is required. So I feel
Exactly.
it's better. People when are unemployed don't have to move to bigger cities, bear the expenses, and then maybe things work out, maybe they don't. So I think it's a lot more beneficial. There are some negative advantages or negative aspects to it as well, but I think overall things are getting
True.
great. So moving on to my next question. Do you think traditional companies are at a disadvantage compared to companies which are more tech savvy?
So, when you talk about traditional companies, I think one needs to keep in mind that even traditional companies, so to speak, are moving up the value chain and accommodating newer ways of doing work. And when you look at it from the candidate's perspective, really what I've observed in my 15-year plus career is that they're getting smarter year after year. And they're getting very, very clear about what kind of organization they want to join, what kind of career they want to build, and so on. So there are those by divine design who are very clear that they want to be in a startup environment, young, bustling, high energetic, maybe slightly not structured. But at the other side, there are huge pockets of people who want to work with the traditional companies where they believe structure, organization frameworks, where stability all come at a slight premium. And therefore, when it really comes to how companies are projecting themselves, I think they need to stay true or to their core, to where they are, at least from an historical standpoint or from the leadership strategy standpoint, because only when they are able to project the right image will they be able to attract the right talent which will align with that. There's no point trying to be something that you're not. At best, you may attract a few initial 100 employees, but beyond that, when employees come in, they realize that it's not really what they perceive the organization to be. There will be dissonance, there will be exits, and that will lead to further complications for everyone involved. So I don't think anyone is disadvantaged per se, but yes, today's youth, to answer your question in another way, expects a certain level of responses, speed, uh, which is something that I think all organizations, whether traditional or startup, should be cognizant about.
Hmm, 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 hmm. Right. People are a lot more aware these days. They are a
Correct.
lot more aware about what could happen, and I think the gap is also very huge. People at similar ages could be
True.
having 10 folds of difference in the kind of amount that they're earning, in the kind of work that
Yeah.
they're doing. So people also want to explore 10 different things. People my age or even younger than me want to explore stuff. They want to be a
True.
part of 10 different things to know that hey, this is my calling. So again, that is happening, and I think traditional companies are also coming forward. I actually myself have worked with a couple of very traditional companies who are huge in nature, and they were seamlessly able to go through the whole transition without a flinch, even nothing that
Lovely.
hardly that we could see. So that is something which is really great. Perfect. Moving on. Everything is happening online, and there used to be a personal touch when you meet someone, when you see someone. It's very different knowing about them. So, what do you think? What are the some ways that recruiters can use to know about the actual skill sets of that individual while they're
Sure.
maybe hiring online?
Correct. So traditionally, what has happened is that recruiters have dependent on manual tests or even computer tests in front of them when recruiters have visited campuses and so on, and tried to assess people on some standardized tests that they've created, and then basically filter out the top uh, percentile for their own selection process to take them forward in the same. Thanks to again automation and the platform that we referenced earlier in this conversation, the plethora of assessments tests that are available to recruiters has increased manifold, right? So today you can have tests for literally just checking quality of written or spoken English communication skills, to mathematical or logical reasoning, to even coding through codathons. You have tests to even look at cognitive skills, behavioral skills. So you can even go down the path of evaluating candidates for specific disciplines such as comfort with sales kind of roles and so on. We've had so much advancement in the field of evaluating skills and capabilities, and all of this now has been transferred onto automated platforms uh, with AI, with data science all built into these platforms. They're also much more robust and much more dependable, right? Today, uh, tests are deployed globally on huge basis, so the data uh, output that you get out of them is very reliable, very measurable, and therefore, for recruitments, if they are very recruiters, if they are very clear about what are the skills they want to evaluate candidates on, there is enough and more available assessments for them, right? On top of that, what some recruiters also tend to do is that, because again now you're not physically present in front of candidates and you can't really deep dive too much beyond the point, they request or accept ask them to share uh, examples of previous work which they've delivered. In the design space, for example, you might be aware we have platforms like Behance, where people can save and upload their own creative work which they've produced in the past, and that is something that not only recruiters but even hiring managers tend to review to see the level of capability that a candidate has. So there are many such options available. And of course, the IT world, for example, I mentioned this earlier, the codathons have been extremely popular to help filter out people who have the right technical skills for their role. So that's where I see this only getting more and more objective, more and more assessment driven as we go ahead.
Completely agreed. You actually answered my next question as well, which is like having asynchronous tools, wherein there's no two-way conversation happening. Are they a good means to screen, and are they a good means to qualify people to be, a fit or not? Great,
Yes.
great.
So I'm
Yeah,
a great
please.
believer in this because, as you see, the deployment of these platforms increasing, and ultimately, the AI-driven engines are only as good or bad as the data sets that are at the bottom of their engine.
Hmm,
And
hmm, hmm,
once you spread these out, when you have more and more assessments into the mix,
hmm,
the AI gets tighter, gets more intense,
hmm, hmm,
and is able to
hmm.
help you filter out even better quality of candidates. So we are at that stage where those data sets are exponentially increasing. As we go forward, I think AI, while it's playing a supportive role, will start playing a very dominant role because, just to give you an example, today in the IT industry, for example, the selection ratio is as low as 10% in some domains, which means for every one candidate who selected, nine candidates actually have to go through entire painful process of multiple stages of recruitment to be rejected. Now, even if you could reduce that by half, that would make the lives of not only the recruiting fraternity but even the candidates much more enjoyable, right? Because AI is just like having an exoskeleton, just like Iron Man has, to give you that additional power to execute some of your mundane tasks.
Absolutely agreed on this one, and I think a lot of bias would also go away. So let's say there could be 10 different hiring managers with different kinds of biases, and very little things also sometimes makes you not like a candidate, and which could be actually useful, not useful, and I think there are a lot of biases even when any individual is hiring. How they like an individual to be other than their skill sets also actually becomes and plays a pivotal role in hiring when it's happening in a traditional fashion. So while it has become more and more automated, I think at the end of it, it should be more personal. But at the very initial sense, while screenings are happening of thousands of people, again, it could be as automated as possible, and I think it will create a huge impact moving forward. Perfect, perfect. Coming to one of our very last questions. That what do you think? So things have changed a lot in the past 2 years. So what are the three trends that you think will impact the recruitment process in 2021 to 2022 to 23 maybe?
Sure. So, if I were to summarize it very crisply, I think I would call these trends the three S trends, which is really the first S standing for scale, the second for standardization, and the third for speed. So today, it's a very dynamic environment as far as recruitment goes for any organization. You've got to understand that talent is at a premium. Organizers need to ensure that they're able to recruit at scale for the requirements. Do it in a standardized way, which means that every individual gets great experience, undergoes the same quality of benchmarking and tests, and the entire process is turned around with speed because at the end of the day, candidates today, like we discussed earlier, have an edge, so to speak, are more aware. If you're not fast, you're going to lose candidates to the next competitor. So you combine scale, standardization, and speed, and I think you have a fighting chance of getting the right talent for your organization. That's what I believe.
Right. Perfect, perfect. And one last question. Again, completely out of script, completely out of anything that we decided. I want to know a lot of companies are moving to video resumes, or you may call it resume, and this actually helps a lot. So what we have seen is that while you take that very first round of interview for any given candidate, in the first 30 seconds, usually the hiring manager or the HR knows that whether this thing is going to fly or not, whether this individual is going to fly or not. If it's not a very technical role, then it could be a different story. But if it's a generally technical role or a customer facing sort of a role, people know
Sure.
whether this will work or not. So, do you think that video resumes or resumes is the thing of the future and are going to really help in recruitment as whole?
I would totally agree, and I think a lot of large organizations have already deployed them. To your exact point, I think you've analyzed it well. I spoke about it that out of every 10 candidates, 9 ended up getting up rejected. Typically, 6 or 7 of them are rejected in that first interview stage, right? And if you can just do that over a video screening, it just helps save so much of bandwidth, agony, disappointment for so many individuals, because in the pre-video world, you've also had to ask people to travel, come across to office, and in any of our metros today, that's a good 1.5 2 hour journey, uh, unless you're lucky to apply to an office which is next door. So video resumes clearly is the thing of the past, and I think it helps to at least get a good sense of what the candidate brings to the table. And once you have that initial screening ticked off, you can deep dive in subsequent conversations, have assessments into the mix, and make sure that you're hiring the right person for the right role.
Perfect. Great, great. So, because this is it from our end, basically we have tried to cover as much as possible with respect to what is happening in recruitment and what the future holds. Thank you for being a part of this, for gracefully helping us with all the questions and answering everything with so much ease. I am pretty sure that young professionals who will be watching this, be it they are coming from the HR fraternity or otherwise, are gonna learn a lot more and will help them in their decision making a lot more and will make their lives a lot easier. Again, to my audience, thank you so much for watching this, and we will be coming up with more industry professionals like Vikas himself, and will be giving you more insights through and through. Thank you so much, Vikas. Thanks a lot for being a part of it. Great
Pleasure
connecting with
being
you.
here. Thank you so much, and really impressed with the way you conducted this. All the best.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank you.